like a champion, taking the cheers in the ambience. I got a ring to think then again. I'm such a winner, I'll win again. Some think I'm a Viking or maybe a wizard. I feel like I'm both when I'm in the ring. Victory brings serenity. I give them a three-piece, that's for the three-peat, and then I leave with the trinity. True baller got all the amenities. All the others just wanna be mini-me's. Haters mad when they in my...
What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's special live on this beautiful Tuesday. I'm with Titanium University member Galen. I don't wear a shirt, but he's wearing a shirt. I'm highly disappointed in you, Glenn. Why are you wearing clothes?
I was planning to not have a shirt on. I'm like, I want RJ to keep his channel because I lots of people like need to know who RJ is.
Yeah, that's true. So I fully expect at some point in time you're going to be shirtless during this live, okay? Probably when I start yelling at you. I'm not going to yell at you right from the beginning. But for those of you that are wondering, his name is Glenn with an A. So it's Galen. It's not Galen, okay? For everyone that gets confused. And that was all for you, Cassie, because I know you got confused the other day. Where are you from, Galen?
Originally from Eastern Europe, Bulgaria. Came in the United States 9 years ago with no English, $11 in my pocket. I saw a homeless person at the gas station and then I gave him $1 because I'm like, there's no homeless people in the United States. That guy really must have need help or something like that. So I ended up having 10.
There's no homeless. That's what you thought. There's no homeless people in America.
All the movies are feeding us that in the United States, you just go around and you pick up $100 bills and everything is fantastic. I'm like, there's no way. No way this guy's homeless. I mean, really, must have been something really bad happening.
So you came from Bulgaria. What was life like in Bulgaria? I don't know anything about Bulgaria.
Life was, you know what, man? I've been thinking about it a lot. Life was great. I had the opportunity to grow up and have a childhood, period. Then, I mean, it's a little bit different today. You know, most of the countries are kind of adopting the westernized world lifestyle with technology, social media, and all that. But I grew up between the time when we were actually playing outside in the dirt and fighting between each other and then kissing each other after that, and then the social media. So I was lucky enough to actually experience what is actually to be outside and having fun. As far as developing where I'm coming from, my hometown, I would say still up to nowadays, there's really, I'm just going to put it this way. We have, back in Eastern Europe, we have the wrong role models to follow. And that is the problem there. Everybody follows the gangsters, the black SUVs, the people that are actually up to no good, really, even nowadays. And, you know, I had a couple of kids, kids, 20 some years old, a couple of years ago, when I was managing them up in Wisconsin, because they were kind of like, oh, dude, I'm going to buy this car and that car. I'm like, you're so confused, my friend. That's not it. That is not the end. So anyway, growing up, it was great, but when it comes to developing, we did not have the right role models, and for me personally, I did not have the father figure, so that was actually making it a little bit harder. But great place to grow up.
Gotcha. Well, I have to say, you and I, we've gotten to know each other over the past couple of months. You know, you show up to all of the implementation calls inside of Titanium University. I love your engagement inside the group. You've been one of the foundational members since day one. So I love having you on here today. We're going to get to this $40,000, $267.56 profitable novation. And we're going to go through that. We're going to look at it from a little bit of a different standpoint. I have to say, though, before we get into that, you saying you didn't speak a word of English when you came over here. Dude, you sound amazing now. You can speak very fluently, and you're great on the phones. Is that ever a problem? Like when you're talking to sellers, like the accent, is English a problem? Like, do you ever struggle understanding what people are saying?
No, unless I get someone from the southern states. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult for. It's kind of funny, but then it's not because I'm like, oh, ma'am, and would you please repeat that? But I haven't gotten anyone like from the southern states in quite a while actually, so I really don't know. But at the very beginning, it was a little bit difficult to catch on the. Is it I would just say it's a slang
Accent, the
accent,
twang.
like if you
Yeah.
will. Some of the words were not making sense, and I had how they were pronouncing it. But I'm sure I'm not going to be having any issues with that. I mean, when I came over, I was understanding, but I
Right.
did not speak it. So, and then my wife was born and raised in the United States. My current wife, then girlfriend,
Right.
was speaking so quickly, so fast that I actually had a sign. I had to implement a sign when she speaks, and that is time out. Hold on. They got to repeat this a little slower. And it took a couple of years. I've actually gotten better. And I think I was never scared to do pretty much anything. So what I was doing is I was just going and trying to talk to people out there, right? And so I think that really helped me out a lot. It kind of, I came out of my comfortable Bulgarian bubble, and now I had to learn some of the US culture, and that was entailing talking to people. Really.
I love it. Who would have known? What you said 9 years ago?
9 years ago, May 7th, 2015.
That's crazy. So 9 years ago, you couldn't speak English, and now you're making, six figures. I'm assuming with this, you're minimum going to make six figures, using your words on the phone. It's amazing. So before we get into the Novation deal, I want you to give background. Like, how much money have you made in this business? Like, what's your background when it comes to real estate investing and wholesaling?
So my background as far as real estate probably dates back to. Let me create a story really quickly. In 2018, when I worked at Wells Fargo, that's actually one of the locations where I really had to learn English quickly. With especially having people that are coming at you and they're like, I don't like your accent, man. That's why I voted for X person. So you guys are not here. All the BS crap. So I had to really learn quick English quickly so I can defend myself. So it started in, I think it was 2018. I've been hearing about this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm like, okay, I've heard of that book actually 10 years ago back home. A friend of mine that ended up being super successful in my hometown. Now he didn't need to immigrate or anything like that. Mentioned the name. I'm like, bro, I want to play computer games and be outside. I ain't reading no books. So many, many years later, I read the book, and then at the same time, I stumbled upon Grant Cardone. And then that's when I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not here to just work for somebody. I have to give myself a shot, because I didn't mention that, but my family had to go through a lot for me to be here. Lots of sacrifices. It wasn't easy, financially especially. And that's when I heard about real estate. And I'm like, one day, because I'm still W-2, I still have to figure it out, the culture. I still got to go work. One day, I'm going to figure out a way to get into this thing, real estate. And then 2022, I was living in Arizona. My wife is originally from Wisconsin. I believe I can't remember. It was a real estate video, but I can't remember, was it Grant Cardone, or I listened to Wholesale Hotline with Pace, Brent Daniels, and Jamil Damji. I went to my wife, and I'm like, we're moving back to Wisconsin, and I'm buying my first rental. Long story short, when I arrived in Wisconsin, the first 30 days, I got my rental that I still have up to today. And it's a fantastic real estate that I acquired 2022. And then a little bit later that year, I started hearing the word wholesale. And I'm like, I got to take a look at what is this like wholesale, because at the time I was doing mortgages. I was doing well, but I really, there was always something in my gut that was telling me, bro, you got to go and bet on yourself, man. You got to be the one in the family that's got to make the difference, right? And so then I started watching pretty much every single wholesale hotline because that's the only thing I knew about wholesale, that show. I'm working out, listening to a wholesale hotline pretty much every single day. I watch so many episodes. Then I'm telling my wife, now we're in Wisconsin, hey, we're going back to Arizona. I'm going to be starting this wholesaling thing. At the day we arrive, we still have the boxes in this place. I signed up for my first community, and then I started doing wholesaling at that specific moment. So long story short, I learned something, and then let's just get right into it. I don't want to wait. Let's just go.
Right. So you
how
signed
much
up.
I made? You asked me how much I made.
Yeah. How much have you made so far?
So first year, so I've been doing this for a little over a year. I started in April of 2023. My first year, I was only cold calling in Phoenix, Arizona.
Brutal.
In Phoenix, Arizona. In my first year, I made just under 60,000.
Okay.
And I was feeling so bad, by the way, RJ. I'm like, man, it's only 60,000. I'm looking at all these gurus that are making $1 million a month, $500,000 a month. Of course, most of them nowadays, we know that it's a big pile of brown poo-poo. But but that's a different topic. This year, my goal was to double that. And I already did it, and it's going to be way over doubling that. I haven't even hit my first year. I haven't even hit my second year yet. So that's where I'm at. I mean, RJ, I started with the expectations. I was telling my wife, look, we might not see a penny for 1 year.
Right.
Like just realistic expectations. But thanks God, I was persistent, and I was able to make it happen.
Dude, that's amazing, though. I mean, even though you look at it, the saying is comparison is the thief of joy, right? I mean, at this point, you've already made close to $200,000, and you're not even in your second year doing something that you're figuring out. Like you're learning while taking that action. And I think that's what I love about you. I love seeing how every day you show up and you're a part of learning, but you're also a part of taking action. Now let's get into today's topic. This novation that you just did. This is a hot topic for a couple of weeks inside of the university, because on the surface level, right, we can say a Titanium University member made $40,267.56 profit doing a novation. However, I want to be very upfront and outspoken about this. I was not happy that this took place. Now, before we get into this, some people might not know. From your understanding, with you being the person that's newer into this, right? And you just completed this novation. What is a novation? What did you do in this deal?
So actually, I found a JV partner to novate that deal, but I would say I was also heavily involved with the logistics, because at the end, I've heard if it wasn't for me, this thing would have not closed. Right. It went through a lot of interesting situations. So pretty much innovation is, I like to explain it this way. It's you're giving I don't want to say the white glove compartment or whatever it's called, service, silver plate, but pretty much you are telling the seller, hey, Mr. Seller, I understand that you want to sell your house and you're wanting X amount of money. I cannot give you that X amount of money in cash, but what I can do is I can literally find a realtor, like one of my partner realtors that I vetted. I know they're going to close that deal, and pretty much what you're pretty much going to give me the keys for the car and I'm going to drive while you're staying at home and you're preparing for your move and you're just signing paperwork. I'm going to handle pictures. I'm going to handle repairs, and then I'm going to handle all the communication with the realtor. You don't have to do anything but sign documents.
So when do you make that offer? When does a novation come into play?
I made the Novation offer. So I had this deal initially as cash because that's all I want to do, and it was not gaining any interest from the buyers because it's a very small town here in Arizona, and it was not gaining any interest despite the fact that, I mean, I can't remember. I had this property like $150,000 spread or something like that. The house was move-in ready. It was pretty much staged. Poor lady, like she passed away, a son inherited. The house was staged, literally staged for like, I'm like, oh my God. But I did not gain any interest. And then at the time, I heard Novation. I'm like, man, I think that this thing is such a good deal. Someone's got to list it for me. And that's when I reached out to that JV partner that we ended up split. Actually, we did not split it. I actually got a little bit more because I handled a lot of the cost, that upfront cost that we're going to talk about that was associated with the deal and most of the logistics. But pretty much to answer your question, sorry, English is my third language. I need time to explain the whole picture. My wife is like, get to the goddamn point, bro. but I need time. So I did not gain interest with cash buyers, so I wanted to put it on the market and see what we can do there.
Okay, so before we get on into the specifics of the deal, I want to ask you about what you just said there. You weren't gaining any interest. Looking back at it now, do you think that was because of the deal itself or because you were lacking on the disposition skill set?
Absolute dispositions.
Okay. So the deal existed. The deal was a movable deal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my problem right here. We're going to get into multiple issues that I have when we start blending exit strategies. But one of them is that people now are leveraging novations because they're lacking skill sets in two areas. One, acquisitions. Two, dispositions. And so they're saying, well, you don't have to develop skill sets. Just do novation. That's one of my issues, is because we're going to get into the liability side. But on this, you said it was move-in ready and there was a $150,000 spread.
At least.
I mean, quite frankly, you could have made what you made on the novation. You could have made this or more on just a regular assignment.
100%. Yep.
Right. And so this is where I have a problem with this. So you heard novation, right? And you chased the shiny object because you're looking at it saying, I've got a banger of a deal. I've got to do something to make money. So you chase that shiny object. Now, you had it under cash. You went to the seller. You renegotiated it to be a novation, correct?
We did not really have to negotiate much. I'm like, hey, sir, we got to put this thing on the market. I would like the whole local market to see it. And he's like, okay. That was by the way, this seller, thanks God, the seller was a real estate investor and he had multiple rentals. And he's like, bro, I trust you. Take care of it.
Okay, so now you're doing a novation. Let's get into the story. So you have the conversation with the seller. Seller says, whatever you need to do. Now what takes place? What happens then?
So the JV partner that I had, she took care of so she had to call around to find a realtor that is willing to work with a power of attorney, pretty much.
Right.
And she did a bunch of calls or whatever. So she ended up finding a realtor that was okay listing a property through, power of attorney, us having the control over the deal, but the seller was someone else. And that's when the fun started. So guess what? We're listing the property. First 24 hours, 3 offers, one of them over asking.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Amazing. Well, yes. Now, it was time for an appraisal to come in. It passed or whatever. It appraised for the right amount. But then it was time for the inspection report because the retail buyer obviously was getting a loan for a conventional loan. And the inspection report came back and we had a septic issue, which I'm like, by the way, completely honest, what is septic? What is this? Is that a like what? I mean, I think it's something pipe, but I have no idea exactly what septic is. So I had to go and Google septic. I'm like, oh, smaller towns that they don't have water and sewer, like with the city, like they have septic. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So septic, actually, I'm sorry. First, what we had to do is we needed to do a septic report, right? That septic report is, for me, it was $2,000. Guess what? You need to pay $2,000 out of your own pocket because I took the responsibility for the repairs and all the costs. I took it up front, so now I have to pay $2,000 for the certification report. Anyway, the certification report came back, whatever that entails. Someone goes in there, checks the pipes, whatever that is. And we have a septic system that is 45 years old and it wasn't serviced for God knows when. On top of that, we have a Arizona soil. Arizona don't have a soil, it's a goddamn rock.
Yeah.
So it's going to require a lot of digging and a lot of machinery. So he came back with this beautiful price of, hey guys, and don't quote me on it like RJ, I want to forget about it, but it was something like, hey guys, we're going to need to make repairs. It's going to cost $12,000. And we require $8,000 upfront deposit. I'm like, God damn it. Now? Yeah, now we have to make the repairs. Otherwise, this thing is not qualified for the loan. Long story short, actually, this was a lesson for me. I had to call in the contractor. I'm like, hey, bro, nobody has $8,000 like laying around. Can you do 4 or 5? So through some negotiation, I was able to get it down to 5. I had to pay another $5,000 upfront for the contractor to go and do the work, and then the rest he would be paid out of the proceeds at the end of the transaction. But it was just a freaking nightmare, man. Just running the contractor, he's not responding. He has more, I guess, because it's such a small city. It was only 2 companies that are doing this. This one is not the best, but it's the one that shows up, which that doesn't change the fact that they're not the best, and they kind of showed it. Horrible communication, and to me, I'm a maniac like when it comes to communicating, especially if you don't see each other in an office or face to face. You got to let me know what the hell is going on the whole time. That way, when a problem occurs, I'm on it. So he went there, came back and said, oh, by the way, yeah, $12,000 like repair, but that's the first option. There might be another option that's going to be another gazillion thousands. And I'm like, oh my God, man.
Wasn't it 40,000? Wasn't that the quote to replace?
$46,000 to replace the whole septic. So I started reaching out to real investors that are dealing with stuff like that, and they're like, 40 what? Nah, man, no. 16, 18, 14 in the States, like where you actually have a actual mud for soil, like Midwest, it could be 8, 10, right? But guess what? This is the only option we have. Otherwise, this goddamn deal is not closing. So what do? I'm like, okay, God, I'm praying and hoping that it's not going to be the second option or that the replacing. What happened is he's literally telling me, hey, you know what? I actually just came back from a meeting with the county. 3 years from now, the city will actually install water and sewage for the whole city. So what we need to do is we need to do enough repairs for this 50-year-old septic to be strong for the next 3 years. So Yeah, man, that's pretty. That was it. Just a bunch of money up front that I wasn't even aware that I have to pay.
Okay, but a bunch of money. But what about the time? How much time do you think you were spending during all of this, the meetings, the showings, the negotiating, all? How much time do you think on a daily basis you were spending?
Oh, RJ, I would say probably at least 2 hours between messages and waiting and all that, because I can't hop on acquisitions because I haven't heard from this guy. And if this guy has to tell me something, I have to pick up the phone right away. I can get on the phone with a seller, and then the guy calls me and I can tell the seller, hold on 1 second, bro. Let me go ahead and pick up like that one. So it was just throwing a cog in my wheel, big time. Such a distraction. That's why I literally missed the Titanium Olympics, because I had to deal with this thing.
Yeah.
And one more other deal that also got will and closed recently. But lots of time time sucking.
And the thing that I noticed is you, like I said, you show up to all the implementation calls, but it was also the stress that I could see on your face. I mean, it was all over you, where it was so demoralizing and distracting to what was going on. From the time that you started, from the time that you placed the call to the seller saying, hey, we need to do a novation, to the time it closed, how many days was that?
Great question. I think things got it. I think it only took about 60 days. I had initially locked up for 30 because I'm like, no-brainer deal. No-brainer. Right. Now I remember I had it locked up for 120. ARV was 280. Stage house, right? But I had it for 30. I think we had to do one extension. It was something of the nature of about 60 days. But that 60 days felt like 180 days because, to your point, I couldn't sleep. Not only because it's $40,000, and for a person that, some people drive to an office every single day to make $40,000 a year. My mother has to work 10 years back in Eastern Europe for that kind of money. Right. So I'm like, man, I have to get this thing done. And then on top of that, my sunk cost bias was kicking hard, because I'm like, this thing has to close. I'm already $8,000 upfront. So I'm also stressing about that, because what if the retail buyer says, no, thanks, I'm good. Now I gave $8,000 to some guy that.
Well, what if that retail buyer says, I don't care that the city says 3 years from now we're putting in city water. I want this replaced. Mm-hmm. I mean, it kills the deal, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different things that went on. And so this was one of my issues. You came on one of my implementation calls and you said, hey, this is what's going on with this novation. Now, I remember very distinctly, you didn't necessarily want to tell me about the novation up front because you knew that I would be upset. Why? Mm-hmm. Why did you know that I would be upset? First of all, what did you think that you did would upset me? Why do you think I would be mad at you?
Because I was making my business just too complicated.
Right.
It would take a lot of freaking time. And I'm like, I'm not going to even mention it because I know RJ. And by the way, guys, just to make sure, we're not saying like here, never do novations in your life. But if you just jump in the wholesaling business and you're getting into the creative side of deals and you don't have the right partners, you don't have the right contractors, if, for example, you need to do repairs and all that, it's a cluster F. It just takes forever. And that's why I'm like, I'm just not going to mention anything because RJ says, pick up the phone, see how much they want for the property, underwrite it. And if you guys cannot agree on a price, move on. You're going to have time for novations down the road. And I did not for that.
People might be listening to this right now going, all right, so what's the point in this? Is it I should do novations? Should I not do novations? Here's an easy way to decide this. Galen, if you are distracted dealing with a novation, who does acquisitions for your business?
Nobody. My cat.
Okay. Who does lead generation for your business? You do?
Well, lead, like we have paper lead, but the leads are coming in, but nobody's calling them because I have to be on the phone with a
You still have to
contractor.
make that decision, though, right? You have to decide: am I buying from Lead Solo, Speed to Lead, Property Leads? What's my budget? How much am I spending on it? You have to swipe the cards. You have to do all that. Even in
Right.
the as simplest of times as it's ever been,
Yep.
there's still time dedicated. So you do that, right? You make all of those decisions. You do the acquisitions. You do the company underwriting. Who's doing dispositions for you?
Myself.
Okay. Who's doing transaction coordination?
Myself.
Okay. So you do everything, right? So if there's one distraction anywhere across the board, your business now completely halts for you to handle that distraction. This is where I got frustrated with you.
Yep.
Because I was like, you have the most simplest of businesses in your hands, wholesaling.
Yep.
Right? Where you can have the lead generation rolling in, handle the acquisitions, immediately start the TC process and start the dispo process. Yep. And you can time block your day through the different categories, right? This is why we say have a hedgehog concept.
Hedgehog concept.
And that's why I got mad at you. I'm like, I asked you, how much are you going to make on this? You were like 40 grand. Are you, I mean, here we are today. Are you happy about the 40 grand?
The only reason like why I'm actually happy is I was able to learn a lot because I'm this type of personality person where if someone tells me something, I'm not going to take it at face value. I'm going to go and break my head at the freaking wall. And then that's how I'm going to learn. Overall, am I happy like about the 40,000? Like you said, no, because I could have definitely spent more time at acquisitions and I would have been able to do way more. And I mean, even at the end, I don't know if you were about to go there like RJ, but literally 24 hours before closing, the realtor's like, "Hey, the furniture and everything like is still there." Okay, yeah, great. It comes with the house. No, it does not come with the house. This is a retail buyer. So there's more headaches that I had to wake up 1 o'clock in the morning, wake up my wife, get a U-Haul, and go empty out the house because we couldn't find someone to do it. Or we asked someone to do it, and they're quoting me $7,000. So I'm like, guys, you go have some beer to relax with your $7,000. Are you insane? You're out of your mind. So lots of headaches. To answer your question, was it a good experience? Yes. Could I have made way more than 40,000? Absolutely. If I was following my hedgehog concept.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, I asked you, are you happy about the 40,000? Because one of the things that I've been blessed to have the amount of transactions that I've had in my career. I've worked my ass off for it, but I've also learned something. There was times where I felt like I needed this $40,000 deal to go through, or I was not going to be able to survive. Right? I'm assuming at some point in time you had some similar thoughts, right? Where not necessarily survive, but it's like, I just need this to end.
Yes.
I need this to come to the conclusion, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, man. You know what? I'm just going to put it this way. From the overall perspective of a financial picture, the last 9 years in the United States, I've been literally putting every single penny away because I knew when the day will come that I have to bet on myself, it's going to require a lot of capital. I have to invest capital to make mistakes in order to learn. I can learn from free. Free doesn't give you value. Yeah. Guys, you have to pay for stuff. Pay for stuff, it's going to give you value. And I just knew that about myself personally. So would have been like at the end of the world? No, because I'm very conservative culturally from where I'm coming from to have capital. But then I'm looking at my business account. I'm like, bro, you are running out of your business allocated capital. So yeah, this thing this thing had to close. Otherwise, I would have been very
in trouble, right? But here's the thing: the moment $40,267.56 hits your bank account, it starts going down. Like you're gonna you either you have a monthly subscription hit the next day, you got to buy leads, you got to do something, and now it's not like you just sit at that number. So this was the conversation that you and I had afterwards, right? We waited until the deal got done, and we're like, okay, you survived. And it was like, all right, what did we learn from this? And then you said, let me have it. And basically what I wanted to impose on you and use you as an example inside the university, and for anyone that watches this video, is I don't want you to be so worried about making money that you sacrifice everything else that is important in this life.
Yes.
Like when we say at Titanium, we stand for create your own reality. It does not stand for make a lot of money.
Yep.
We make money by default. That is what we do. We show up and we make money. We make money in the most simplest of ways. And that being said, there are people out there whose hedgehog concept is to do novations. Those people can create their own reality by doing novations because they become an expert at doing that, and that is what they are solely focused on.
Yep.
Right? Rich Wonders is a good example of that. He does novations, and that's what he does. Right? But he doesn't then turn around and the next day try to be a virtual wholesaler and then a sub 2 expert and seller fight. Like he's like, no, I'm the novation king. That's what I am.
Yeah.
That's why the first thing that we ask of you when you join Titanium University is write down your hedgehog concept, make a time commitment, call the damn leads. Right? Those are the 3 things you have to do. Because it's the most important things that you can do. Understand what your core focus is. And so the reason why I was mad at you is because I'm like, dude, you were on the path of being happy and not being stressed. You were showing up to the meetings. You missed some of the meetings, right? You missed some of the implementation calls. You weren't as happy as you have been in the past. You weren't as engaged. Like you said, you missed the Titanium Summer Olympics because of this. So you talk about you learned some stuff, but ultimately, outside of understanding the details of novation, really, what did you learn from this transaction? Like what, moving forward, what will be like your biggest takeaway from doing this novation deal?
I'm going to keep it simple, and the word is simple.
Yeah.
I would do an ovation, but I have to make sure that the partner that I have is handling absolutely everything, and that partner is willing to also take on the responsibility of investing capital upfront. And I made that very clear. I actually did have someone that reached out, to me and said, "Hey, would you mind handling the novation deals in Arizona?" I'm like, "I'll tell you yes," but then I laid all my requirements. I want simple, and I want simple. That's it. Otherwise, the answer is no. So to answer your questions, like really keep things simple, and that is focusing solely on wholesaling, cash deals. If there is an opportunity for, I want to say sub 2, I'm not going to be making like any sub 2. I kind of made my decision unless I am the one holding the sub 2.
Right.
But novations, it's the person that I'm partnering with. They have to tell me that they're going to be handling everything. That way, I'm not distracted from what I'm supposed to do. And this is talking to sellers all the time. And if they tell me, nope, I'm not doing that, I don't care if it's 40,000. I don't care if it's 50,000. Because to your point, RJ, yeah, a lot of people see 40,000. I feel like I lost 10 years of my life expectancy because of sleepless nights. And then I take my energy over to my family, over to my wife, right? I'm like, oh my God, man, this deal, those people are calling me, and it's getting to those people. And I'm going to say something that's cliche, but I don't think it's all about money, man. Me and you had that specific day, like when you told me, I'll never forget this. You were like, closing $10,000, $20,000 wholesale in New York is not going to make me excited anymore. what makes me excited is go get the boys in the office and play Madden or PlayStation or FIFA or whatever. That makes me happy. I'm like, I've literally lost my head. I lost my brain because I do miss those things. I don't have friends here. I try to have some friendships in the United States, a little bit different. But I forgot what that is. I forgot what is to sit down and literally watch a completely stupid, pointless movie. Because I was just focused on, I got to develop every single day, which I still do. But I rest. I'm trying to take it easy, and I'm not always like, oh my God, like how much money, because
that's the thing, man. I mean, we get so wrapped up in that we have to make more deals, more money, more profit. That's one of the biggest selling points that I've seen from educators on Novations is if you're that lowly wholesaler, the bottom of the rung, scumbag wholesalers, you're leaving so much money on the table, because if you do Novations, you're going to get, I think the percent that I've seen thrown around is you get 30% more on a Novation deal than you would get on a wholesale deal. Well, here's my percent. I am 3,000% happier doing all of my wholesale deals and not having any of those Novation deals, because I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about the liabilities that come along with this, the communications that come along with this, the communication with the seller, the realtors, the contractors, the repairs that are needed, everything else that goes along, much less the transaction coordination, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that there are issues that come along with this as well, with the paperwork, getting a title company that understands how to do a novation, an attorney that knows how to do a novation. There's a lot of issues that can come along with this. And so for me, it's just, I want to impose this on anyone out there, where it's, don't do something just because someone said that you can make a little bit more money.
Yep.
Look at it across the board and say, what am I sacrificing to make that additional money? And is that worth it for me in the end?
100%. And by the way, RJ, I'm sorry to interrupt. You mentioned something that we did not cover. From that transaction, I also learned how to negotiate, or literally try to have title companies actually work.
Yeah.
This title company was literally on the buyer side, like zero. I didn't feel that I was supported, if you will. They were asking me to do things that were not okay. And for example, I filed a memorandum because I'm already $8,000 in. I don't want this guy to say, oh, you know what, it takes 15, 20 days extra. Yeah, I'm not doing this. Yeah, no, you are. So I filed a memo, and then the title company is like, oh, you know what, you have to remove the memo, and then we have to clear the title, and then we're going to close. I'm like, how about if within that closing period of those 12 hours, 24 hours, the buyer backs out? Well, if the buyer backs out, you're losing the deal. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not removing that memorandum. So then guess what? Then I had to make other phone calls to other title companies that I've already worked with. And they told me, no, this is a bunch of manure. Yep. Yes, it's not. You don't remove any memorandums or whatever. But guess what? More thinking about it, more slowing down, halting my business, to go and talk to a title company to explain to them how to do their job.
Yep.
Nah, thanks. I'm good.
I mean, dude, I'm telling you, these are the things that people don't want to talk about, because it's not the sexy thing. It's sexy to talk about how much money we do, how many deals we do. I want to change the narrative. I want to change the narrative to how happy are we? How healthy are we? And then what do we do to support that?
Yep.
And that's what I want the foundation of Titanium University to be moving forward. Hey, we want to show you how literally you can create your own reality to whatever degree you want that to be. If you want it to be, you do one deal a month that supports whatever lifestyle you have. off of that money, then do that.
Yeah.
If you want to do as many transactions and to make as much money as possible, then we will give you the tools to be able to do that. Because I've lived on both sides of this. I think I shared this story with you at one point in time. I remember a couple of years ago, we had 96 deals under contract. And I was sitting right here. And on this wall to my right, we had our war board. And on the war board, we made, little property cards. We used to, when we had to have the titanium crucibles and people would come to our office, we would bring them into my office and we would always brag about how many deals we had on the war board. And I remember looking at it was a Friday, and looking at the 96 deals under contract and just thinking to myself, man, this is miserable. This is absolutely miserable. That is 96 different families, different individuals that are relying on us to perform. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, at least one we're going to let down. Like, not because we can't move the deal and we have to terminate it. I'm talking about we are just going to straight up mess up because we are doing too much. We're greedy. We're trying to do as many deals as we possibly can. And somewhere along the way, we are going to make a mistake. We're going to mess up the chain of communication. We're not going to communicate. We're not going to get the deal closed for whatever reason. When you were doing this deal, obviously the seller was cool and easy to work with. When there was the fear that the septic would have to be replaced, was one of the things that weighed on you was the fact that you would have to call that seller and let them know that the deal couldn't proceed?
Yes, absolutely. I've been through one. I was on a podcast in early April, and I will never forget what I watched it after that just to hear myself, because nobody likes to hear themselves. I'm like, let me hear myself. And really, like RJ, I am so intense when it comes to promising something to those sellers that if I don't do it, I cannot sleep. Whatever I tell you is going to happen. Even if I gotta drive 1 a.m. at the goddamn house, pulling out furniture, then the neighbors coming out with dogs and they're like, what are you doing, bro? It's 2 a.m. you're pulling furniture out.
Right.
Or I have to whatever and whatever. I gave my word that this thing is going to get done. And just the thoughts that I let them down, straight lied to them, I'm just not cool with that. I'm just not.
Yeah. There's a morality side of this, right? I mean, in order to be like really good at acquisitions, you have to have that level of empathy and connection with the seller and understand how you're solving their problems. And when you do that, and then it comes to the backside of the transaction, no matter how you're dispoing the deal, whether it's on the MLS or just dispoing it to an end buyer through an assignment, man, you start really thinking about that acquisitions and that connection and that problem that you're solving when you're like, I might not be able to get this done. Yeah. And I promised them I would. Yeah, man, that stuff is tough for sure.
My words to the seller, because the situation was mother passing away, the son being very affected, and saying, man, I miss this place, but I just want it done. Okay. Now, it's not like, oh, it's vacant, it's been seen there for, I can make that phone call and I can say, look, I know like we're under contract for 60, we got to be at 5,000, otherwise I got to cancel. There's nothing I can do about it. Cancel. All right, fine. But in this situation, like when someone is going through something like that, imagine losing a parent, and you gave your word, and now you have to make that phone call. Boy, that hurts. There's nothing about money there. Like, I don't care about any money. I care about my reputation. And like when I mentioned the previous podcast, sometimes when I have sellers that are, you can sense that they're uncomfortable, whether it is my accent, whether it is the process that we're just buying their house over the phone, I usually tell them, you working with me, you're going to have the easiest transaction, real estate transaction you have ever done in your life. And I promise you that. And that's what I go by with every single person.
I love it.
I will do anything and everything for this thing to cross the finish line. Period.
And I believe you, because I've seen the different things that you have done to get your deals done. All right, so I want to transition the conversation a little bit. I actually just want to ask you some questions. In my notes here, what I actually wrote was get Galen to talk about how great Titanium University is, but I actually just want to ask you some questions. Reverse engineering, doing the math, obviously we see that you've gotten results since joining the university.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you specifically, what do you think has helped you get those results since joining Titanium University?
You helped me by, this is actually a very easy answer I was working on today. I'm like, what has been the biggest change that happened since joining Titanium? And everything started with when I was cold calling, and then I came upon this guy on YouTube that is saying you don't have to cold call and you can just swipe your card and talk to a person that will actually talk to you,
right,
and tell them what their problem is. I'm like, yeah, nah, man, that's not it. So that person's name, by the way, guys, was RJ Bates. I'm not sure if you ever heard of this guy. So then I got into the line in joining Titanium. But you know what, RJ? You made me believe in myself, to be myself, to not stress out what scripts, what processes to have here, to stumble upon flipping pages like, what should I say here? And then what should I say that? Because that is what a US born individual would actually say to that other US born individual, right? Because I don't have schooling experience in the United States. I have nothing. My English is I learned from my first serious job, RJ, was Pizza Hut, by the way.
There you go, Pizza Hut alum.
Yep. And, I didn't have like a school experience. So everything was just like from what I learned from back school, from how my wife talks and all that. And I was always like, man, I'm going to say something that doesn't sit right. It doesn't sound right. But then RJ, Titanium, one of the mottos is be yourself.
Yep.
And that, once this thing sunk and I actually I understood it, man, it's just opened a whole another plethora of opportunities for me, because now I can talk to anybody and everybody and all kinds of coaches, and I don't care, because I know that we're talking about real estate, and I can be myself, and I just have to ask questions. One of the Titanium University members, Sharon, gives me a lead. He's like, bro, I don't have the balls to FaceTime the seller because the seller started ghosting him.
Right.
Sharon, what's the phone number? What do you mean he's ghosting you? And I'm FaceTiming the goddamn seller. I've never spoke to that person before, because I'm going to be myself. And so for that, RJ, I think this is just the biggest thing is I was having so many limiting beliefs. By the way, I still have it. It's going to take a lot of work. I'm trying to work on it by reading books and listening to Nick and all that, Nick and multiple other people, but just not having those limiting beliefs, man, and just go out there and start making goddamn phone calls. That's just it. There's nothing special about it.
The thing for me is I always knew that I had a purpose in this world, and I knew that I had the ability to connect with people. If you had asked me when I was a lot younger, I never thought that when I was turning 40 years old that I would have as many people at this point tell me, RJ, you say such brilliant things like make things simple, be yourself. I laugh. I'm like, dude, I literally I get away with saying some of the most just, well, for lack of a better word, simple things, because we do as a world, as a society, just overcomplicate things, because it's what sells. I mean, quite frankly, the whole point in this, you doing a novation, wasn't even necessary. The simple play here was the assignment, and you could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
You could have done that with a simple developing a little bit more skill set on the dispo side.
I pissed off some people from Titanium, by the way, because I submitted it for JV, and then 24 hours later I pulled. I'm not sure if it was Cassie. The email sounded like it was Cassie, but I don't know if it was Cassie or.
And we were going to dispo it, right?
There were actually buyers interested, yes.
Yeah, and you said no, never mind. I'm going to do a novation. I remember that. We were mad at you. That was the beginning. I was mad at you. Actually, that was Justin.
Okay.
That was Justin. His email. He's getting good. He's starting to trick you guys, making y'all think he's Cassie.
I did sound like Cassie.
Yeah. So, listen, man. I am proud of you because you've embraced being yourself, but also because I think you're starting to realize that you're awesome. Like, so many people, they would see even that response. It's like, dude, we naturally don't think of ourselves as being like amazing. But then again, it's like when you tell your story, dude, to someone like me who was born here in the United States and has only spoken English, except for the 6 or 7 years they forced me to take Spanish in school, and I just did enough to get an A. I mean, muy poquito español. That's about it, okay? That's all I got, all right? 6 years. I can say that. What you have accomplished in life is amazing. And like, I say that all the time. So anytime someone comes into university and they have, like, they're from another country or they have an accent or something like that, I'm like, dude, I don't think you guys understand. Like, you can leverage that. Like, that is a conversation piece to someone in America. Like, we want to know what Bulgaria, what's that like? I mean, is that like straight communism? Like, are you marching in lines? You getting thrown potatoes for breakfast? Like, what's happening over there? You're like, no, I had a great life, you know? Football is soccer over there, you know? It's like, or vice versa, you know? It's like, we're curious about that. And so seeing that you've been able to come over and now embrace that and just be like, no, dude, I'm going to be myself, and create my own reality and make the amount of money that you're making now. It's amazing, brother. I'm proud of you, even though I'm really fucking mad at you for making $40,267.56. Are you what in 2025, would you do another novation?
I don't know, man.
What do you mean? What? Now I'm mad at you again. Why would you do another one?
Like I said, if I have a partner that's going to handle the whole thing.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, would you just do a novation by yourself?
Not yet. No.
You can't. Your business is not there yet.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's what we talked about. Who's going to do lead generation, acquisitions, dispo, TC? Nobody.
Yep.
You got to rely.
My wife comes on board. She's having her things going on there at work. She's senior up in the corporate world. Then I can start teaching her at the end of the workday. I'm not going to be doing it during the day. Maybe I can focus on that, but for now, I would like to stick with the hedgehog concept and get things done.
Tyler says you would.
Tyler, I think my first. Sorry, RJ, I just cannot lie. My first answer was actually the genuine one, and that is I don't know.
You don't know. All right. So Tyler says you would. I'm going to say that you will not, because the more integrated you get in on this, you're going to see that the benefits far outweigh any liabilities that you can take on. The risk is just not worth it. And again, I always go back to if your answer is you don't know, that's because you're still thinking about money.
Fair. Yeah.
If you're still thinking about money, then yeah, the answer is going to be yes. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? I mean, guilty as charged myself.
Yep.
I am speaking from, the gray is not there yet because I have amazing skincare routine. I don't know what that has to do with gray in my beard, but I'm old and I understand that money is very powerful in our decision making, right? When you're staring at making potentially, 3-4 times what you made in a year's salary,
yep.
You go, man, maybe I should do this. It's hard to walk away with that. Imran wants to know, when would you say is time to add Novation offers to the stack? So here's my answer to that. When you can do a Novation and your wholesale business is going to function without you being a part of the wholesale business. So for example, if I go lock up a Novation today and I handle the Novation from front to back, it will not impact Titanium Investments whatsoever. Acquisitions and dispositions is still going to take place. Transaction coordination is still going to take place because everybody here on my team does that already on a daily basis. So I could go do that, and then I could develop what are the SOPs going to look like in order for us to do innovation. And then I can start delegating that out and hiring that out to be a part of basically a separate business. That would be my suggestion. Unless you decide that I want to transition my business to solely doing novations, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. Specifically, if you're in certain markets where acquisitions is a problem, dispositions maybe is a problem, but due to the price points that you're getting properties at. So like, for example, there are a lot of markets in the United States where rental properties just do not cash flow. That's not something that can be underwritten where it makes sense. Parts of California, parts of Arizona, Nevada, specifically the West Coast, and parts of the Northeast. That's where this is mainly common. I think Novations could be a really good play for you. But I would also say this, Imran, and this would be the biggest thing that I want you to think about. Do you want to do Novations because you're not willing to put the work in to get good at acquisitions and dispositions? If the answer is yes, then this is a part-time solution. And the problems are eventually going to catch up to you. That is my answer right there. And that is the problem that I'm feeling across this industry. I think there's people out there like Eric Brewer, who's been teaching Novations for years. Mm-hmm. He's brilliant at what he does, and his hedgehog concept is Novations.
Yep.
Right. Rich Wonders. I don't know Rich as well as Eric, but from what I could see and know of him, I believe that he's really good at Novations, and that's his hedgehog concept, right? Other people that are talking about doing wholesaling and then adding Novations in, and they used to be known for wholesaling, and now they're doing Novations. I think there's a problem there. There's a problem internally with their business and their skill sets. That's my point. Let's see. Angel says, just from Galen's experience, I would never do a Novation because there's too many moving parts and probable flaky participants. Seems like a time-consuming headache. What do you think, Galen? Do you think that's a fair assessment there?
So that's literally exactly. I could not say it better. I want to say Angel, but I know it's Angel.
No, it's Angel.
It's Angel. Angel Mesa.
It's Angel, baby.
Angel. Yeah, Angel.
Don't change how I say his name, or I'll start calling you Galen. Tori.
Hey, if you would like you to sell me your house for $60 on the cents, I can be Michael for you. No problem. Call me whatever.
All right. See, Angel says I'm right. I got you. All right, Tori wants to know. He said you locked up 8 deals, sold 4 of them, totaling over 6 figures in assignment fees. Was this during the Novation deal?
Was that during this Novation deal? It was during, yes.
So during the Novation deal, you were able to do this. So you were on a heater.
I was like just no, I can't complain, but again, how was the end of the day looking for me? I was just exhausted, whining. It was just a lot, man. Minus that Novation, just doing those acquisition, those other deals that I was doing, I would have probably felt way better. But it is what it is. It's over.
Okay, coming out of the deal, at post deal, has there been a lull in your business?
Yes.
Right.
Which is normal, I guess.
But no one wants to talk about that.
No. Hey guys, let me show you my Lambo. Hold on.
Right. This is what I always tell people, right? One of my least watched Tuesday lives was the effects of the roller coaster effect. I guess people didn't they didn't get the analogy, but I always say this, right? You do acquisitions, you get properties under contract, then they close. You're at the top. What happens? Oh, all the money goes away while you're doing it. This is you're experiencing the lull of the effects of doing the novation and the dispositions and the transaction coordination for all of those deals. Yeah, it's sexy to talk about the money. In order for you to go to the next level, what you have to figure out is how are you going to dispo 4 deals, and as simultaneously while you're dispoing 4 deals, you acquire 4 deals. Mm-hmm. And then while you're dispoing those 4 deals, acquire 4 more deals. That's where, in order for you to go to another level, you have to be able to do that and not sacrifice your happiness for the sake of money.
Certainly. One of the other lessons that this deal taught me is I need to actually have a process.
Yeah.
I just have to have a process. Like if I want to escalate this thing to a whole another level, I have to have processes. And like you said, I have to, I have to figure it out. What specific time of the day am I going to do acquisitions? Then I have to stop. Then I need to do dispositions for a couple of hours, and then return back to acquisitions. It's a process. But yeah, man. By the way, RJ, check this out. I spent 60 days for one novation, and now I'm probably losing another 60 of actually income because the other deals takes actually longer to close. So technically, yeah, it took me 60 days to close 40, but then it takes 2 more so for my business to pick up. So technically, I made, after tax, $4,000 a month.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's these are the things that people don't want to talk about. And it's like Tori just did the math. So to RJ's point, you could have made another 6 figures over those 60 days during the novation.
Possibly.
We don't know that, but I will say,
yeah,
you are starting to develop trends in your business.
Yes,
KPIs, right? Mm-hmm. That we could look at and we could say, yeah, I probably would have been pretty close. You probably could have gotten pretty close to that. And here's the thing: you come out on the backside of this, you were profitable, you did learn a lot. Ultimately, though, I want you to come out of this with a different mindset. And this is why we wanted to do this video. I want everybody to look at this and say, making money is easy in this business. You can make money doing this. There's so many different ways that you can. If you're doing lead generation and you're actively talking to sellers every day, you will find ways to make money.
Yes.
Just make sure you're doing it the way that is going to be best suited for your life. Yes. And it's what you're going to do on repeat. Man, thank you for coming on here and sharing this and letting me beat you up repeatedly on this. Are you tired of talking about it?
I'm not tired. All I'm going to say is I appreciate you, RJ, man. I needed that tough love. You gave me a whole new perspective to take a look at. Hence, it's so important to actually have a community. You gave me a whole new perspective, and I thank you so much for spending the afternoon here with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Last thing I want to ask you is We just brought in the Fab 5 class, so we've had 5 classes. You're one of the first class guys, right? You're still hanging around, which is awesome. What would you say to people that are on the fence about joining Titanium University?
Figure it out what your hedgehog concept is and follow it blindly. There's no secret to this business. It's not easy, but it's very simple. It's not about a magical CRM. It's not about a magical unicorn website that gives you leads that nobody has spoken to. They probably have been spoken to. Follow a process that RJ provides. Focus on your hedgehog concept and just live a better life.
So with that being said, if you join Titanium University, I can promise you, you will never see Glenn wearing a shirt. He showed up formal today. Oh, here it comes. Yeah, buddy. This is what you will see inside Titanium University. So for all the men whose wives might be walking by during the Zoom calls, just beware. They're going to see this sexy bastard on Zoom every single day. All right, guys. That's all we got for you today. Show Glenn some love in the comments. Give us a like. We'll see you tomorrow.